Well, let's see where to begin. Um, Today, well, tried to get up early because I knew it was about 130 miles today. Um, and I had the blowout from yesterday. So, um, I put a new tube in, and in the back of my mind, I knew what had caused it. I just, you're tired and had so many problems, you're just not thinking right. And I put a new tube in the tire. You know, pumped it up to, started to pressure it up, and then the new tube popped, just like the other one did. It's because the fabric, of the tire was torn or coming apart. I incorrectly said it was the bead, but it was really the fabric of the tire. So, it's about, it was about 6:30. At that point, what can you do? So I sat and I stared. Just can't go back to sleep. I got very little sleep, but I got up early because I knew it was a big day. So I just sat and stared and stared and stared and was, you know, really bummed out. But then, like I do, I started thinking about the problem at hand and like, well, what does the tire need to do? It needs to hold pressure for the tube. I'm like, well, how can we do that? And then, I started thinking about fabric of the tire, which led to fabric, which led to duct tape, because duct tape has fabric. So, I went in search of duct tape, which I found at a local gas station. I got back, it was probably closer to 9 o'clock or so. I got back, patched up the tire, and then, I had also looked around for bicycle shops. I knew one was about 3.5 miles away from where I was staying. But then I also saw Dick's Sporting Goods, which opened at 10, had a bike department. Well, at least their website said they did. So I called to see if they had a tire in my size, and they had one close. 35 is not quite, it's a much fatter tire than I was running. I was running at 28. But it was better than nothing, because I wasn't sure if the other shop was going to have what I needed. So I got a cab, went to the sporting goods store, got the tire, came back, put it on, and started rolling, to downtown Biloxi. Stopped by the other bike shop because it was now open, and they were great guys. Duncan was a great guy, and he got me a better tire than the one I had just bought, which is good. It rolled really well. It was more of a touring tire. I also put the touring the Continental I'd been running the whole time on the front, on the back, just to make sure that from this point forward the back is covered. At the front, if the front has another blowout or something, like what happened, I think it's better to that will deal with the patch better, because the front doesn't have a lot of weight on it, unlike the back. So, got to Alabama, stopped at a gas station. I still had a lot of miles to cover. Talked to the girl that rang me up. She mentioned that there's a ferry. I told her I was going to Gulf Shores. She said that there's a ferry from Dauphine Island that goes to Gulf Shores, and thought that could really save my ass as far as my schedule goes, because I really need to be in Jacksonville by the 6th. I can maybe do the 7th, but that's really means I really don't have any time, at home before I have to go back to work. So, so I looked up when the last ferry was, and it was at 6:30, and my time's off, because I thought it was 4, but it was actually 5. I thought I may have crossed over time zones, but I haven't yet. I'm still in Central Time. So I kind of started down to head to Dauphine Island. It was about 30 miles away. You know, my current average speed, you know, it's about a 2-hour ride, with about an hour and a half left to make the last ferry. So I decided to turn around and not do that. And in some ways, I'm glad I didn't do that, even though it was a much longer ride, and I'm still behind schedule. I think, you know, if I have to, I can cut out some, you know, make some changes to the end route, to be able to make my goal. But downtown Mobile was, you know, quite beautiful. You know, a lot of streets were smooth rolling, fast rolling, which was good for the emotions. And you know, it was just very southern, you know, like you would think of in movies, with big trees, you know, covering the highway, and you know, and old-timey southern houses, you know, good grand mansions and things like that. So anyway, you know, I'm gonna go to Gulf Shores and then continue on. I'm gonna try and get up early and you know, make up time if I can. But if you know, we'll see how things go. But you know, instead of going down to Panama City, you know, when I'm in Florida, you know, I may just cut back up north earlier, instead of, you know, doing the long way around, you know, and taking most of the Gulf Coast, or as much as I can anyway. So yeah, you know, despair, elation, joy, you know, wonder, amazement, quite a day.